Welcome to Immediate Review, where we see a movie in theaters and review it immediately. We just saw The Good Liar.
No, we didn't.
Dude, that was a good lie.
That was a terrible lie.
Shut up, Person A. Okay, so we're joined today by Person A, who came to see this movie with us. Who's going first?
You're going first. No spoilers, then spoilers. Fuck you.
Okay. No spoilers. Holy fucking shit, this movie is incredible. Like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way about it, but holy shit, I was on the edge of my fucking seat the whole goddamn movie. It was so good. The acting's incredible. It builds tension really well. You know, if anybody's seen the trailer, you know, it's basically about a con man, I guess, trying to, you know, infiltrate essentially a woman, and you never really know like how much each side knows, and it's just like back and forth mystery, and yeah, seeing who's gonna get a one up on the other one, and it just has that constant tension throughout the whole fucking movie, and it does it so well. And it's acted so well, and the soundtrack is fucking so goofy and like ominous at the same time. Like, it just has this goofy ass soundtrack.
It hits those right cello notes when it needs to.
Yeah, it's like it's so upbeat, and like it's like The Room. Like the music is like The fucking Room, except it will just switch to these like dark tones, and they hit so much harder because the music is so upbeat and like weird and British, and just like,
that's so true.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I loved this movie. I gotta say, this is going on my top 10 for this year.
Fuck yeah, man.
I was fucking blown away by this movie. So fucking glad I came out to see it. So glad I get to see a movie where Ian McKellen acts his fucking ass off before we see Cats, because I don't want to see Cats.
Dude, he's gonna be better than that.
Shut the fuck up. Okay, I don't want to see that movie, and you guys are making me do it for this immediate review, and fucking goddamn it, I'm glad that I at least get to experience the true Ian McKellen that is untainted by CGI and dancing.
And Andrew Lloyd Webber songs.
Andrew Lloyd Webber songs, yes. Okay, Dakota, go ahead.
Person A, go
ahead.
But I think Peter pretty much covered most of it, at least for a non-spoiler evaluation of it. The acting was top notch. The suspense was top notch. Just yeah. I kept trying to guess what was gonna happen next, and I couldn't. And then there was a lot of like what moments, and also a lot of I was surprised by how like brutal it got at times.
Yeah.
Too. Like, it got surprisingly like
it did.
Hardcore.
Fucking more so than Rob Zombie's 3 from Hell at times, honestly.
Like, and that was completely unexpected. Like, just seeing like Ian McKellen, you know, kill people, and that's all I'm gonna say.
But he's only pretending to kill people.
Shut up! Stop making Ian McKellen jokes.
But yeah, no, him and Mirren were both amazing, and yeah.
Oh my fucking god!
Keep going. What else you got? Non-spoiler.
I can't say anything else without spoiling.
All right. Ah, man, I didn't.
Just get it out of the way, man.
The twist at the end, I didn't like. I didn't like the twist. I liked everything before it. Like what you guys said pre-twist, I completely agree with. But like, I need to see it again now that I know the twist. But like, all right, so yeah, no spoilers. I mean, just
you get one special spoiler you can talk about. Right now.
I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about how I feel about the movie without spoilers, and that's. Like you said, like there's so many scenes where they let the camera do all the work. where it's, you know, like all the suspense is done with the camera and with looks and with just like carefully picking your shots and knowing what to look at. And all of that's done very masterfully, and there's a lot of creative scenes, and just everyone's acting their ass off. Ian McKellen's amazing. He's really, really, really fucking good. And you know, I love a good caper, and it reminded me of Martin Scorsese movies at times.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like a Martin Scorsese grifter movie, and I like too that like I like the way this movie presented the grifts. I don't know, it didn't feel tired. There was just one. It didn't. Normally, these type of movies will show a montage. And this movie just had two. It had a short little focus on one with the Russians. And then not another. I don't know. I don't want to spoil things. But yeah, it's all fucking so well done. I highly recommend you see it. A bunch of people see it. We were the youngest people in the audience. Everyone else was like over 70.
Everyone else was Helen Mirren.
Everyone else was Helen Mirren and Ian McKellen. Yep. Yeah, go. Yeah. Fucking. Go see this movie.
Okay, go see it. It's worth it. All right. Spoilers. Boom. I want to start. Okay. The number one most important spoiler that you need to know is this movie was inspired by the style of Quentin Tarantino. And I know that because they watch Inglourious motherfucking Bastards in this movie.
I caught it the first frame. I was like, I know that.
I was like, I saw the fire and like the screaming. And I was like, and I looked over, and you were like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's so fucking awesome. But we are in the age bracket
it foreshadowed. It wasn't just a random ass reference.
It was
important
that they were watching
that they were watching a burning Nazi movie.
It was relevant to both of their characters, which was very nice.
They didn't know it at the time, and you don't know it at the time, and then later you're like, oh shit, they watched Inglourious Basterds at the beginning of the movie.
Okay, so I let's just get into you know, the movie's amazing. You know, it's about a con man trying to steal the money from a woman that he finds online, and as time goes on, it is revealed to us that there's more going on that meets the eye. If you watch the trailer,
then meets the eye.
Yeah, it's a Transformers movie. The woman is actually a robot, but no. Basically, fuck you guys. Basically, if you've seen the trailer, you know that essentially there's a confrontation and whatnot that is eventually going to happen. But like, fuck, we'll bleep that. But like, person A says, it's you never know where it's going. Like you know that there's going to be.
It was not a predictable movie.
Yeah, there's going to be some sort of confrontation, but you never know how, when, where it's going to happen.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
However, it doesn't feel fucking random like Ryan fucking Johnson.
Woo! Shots fired.
Yeah, it's like our subversions are being expected.
Your expectations.
No, I know. I did it on purpose.
Yeah, you subverted our expectations in
But,
the way that it was supposed to be said.
But seriously, like, this movie does what Ryan Johnson wishes he did.
Yep.
And which is like keep us on the edge of our seat. When something happens, like we don't see it coming, and then we like it. Instead of just like random and aren't you dumb, audience?
Yeah.
Sorry, side tangent.
And so yeah, like as you know essentially what's going to happen, like you're you know, they're building into, you know, because they kind of show Ian McKellen do his thing, like you mentioned, where he's like stealing money from people in his like corporate setting, and then he's doing it on the side with this woman and trying to manipulate her. And so in doing that, you kind of get that it's a whole investment thing. Like that, he's got to get her to invest a ton of money and whatnot. And you never really know, because you know there's going to be this confrontation, and so you never know when the moment is going to switch to essentially her doing something to, or is he gonna take all the money, and then the confrontations like that, like you never know how the climax is gonna build up, and then when it does, it's surprising, and it feels good because that's what it's been building up to, and the movie just uses that to build tension incredibly well. And like I mentioned with the soundtrack, it just does a great job of having this like playful, essentially like companionship, romantic kind of feeling to it, which is kind of their relationship, and then it will convey like what they're thinking through these intense facial expressions and tonal shifts in the music that just works so fucking well. And you can't do it unless you can do amazing facial stuff. Ian McKellen, I don't remember the actress's name.
Helen Mirren.
They both do an incredible job at these kind of menacing faces, and like Ian McKellen will do it all throughout the movie, and then like towards the end, Helen Mirren starts doing it a little bit too, and you start like getting this, like you never know what characters know what at any time until the end, and then you're like, oh shit, a bunch of characters know a bunch more than we expected. I'm not personally going to go into the spoiler section, or at least the like flashbacks and the twist, because I really enjoyed it, and so I'll let you guys talk about it,
okay,
and then I'll talk about it later.
So, yeah, that's the thing. I don't think it's that I didn't enjoy the twist. It's that it's the one thing that does feel random, but not Rian Johnson random. Like, not your stupid random, but more, we should have given this movie an extra 20 minutes or so to maybe build this up a little better. I just felt, even before the big reveal happens, like, even when she's like, oh, I knew you when I was young, the moment it did that, I was like, oh, it's like, okay, so basically, whatever happens from here on, just like, I don't know, just none of it is really very well established for me. Maybe I missed something, but like, I don't know, just the whole Helen Mirren's character, we don't get to see as much of like her side of things, as like we follow Ian McKellen throughout the whole thing, which is fine. And so when Helen Mirren does have this big reveal at the end, and she's propped up as the hero who thwarted the villain, for me it wasn't as satisfying, because I just felt like there wasn't enough time to truly develop Betty's character. Betty's character. I don't know, for me.
No, I can see that, dude, because everything she brings up is like, there's no, it's just like, oh, you were a teacher like at my house and all this stuff, and it kind of just presents all that information to you for the first time, essentially, in her monologue. And so yeah, you're definitely right. There is no like real build up to that, besides just I think her fake grandson saying that he was from Germany and that he was lying, that he was lying or whatever.
He does hint at it, though. Ian McKellen hints a little bit at his past, though, because when he's revealing that he's actually German and how he faked being English, major spoiler, he talks about, I had been teaching the language for 4 years prior, blah, 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 blah. Just that little, like, and you can see, like, in that scene, a glint of, like, recognition in Helen Mirren. Like, she already knows at that point, but, like, there's an extra, like, aha, I got you to admit to something.
Yeah.
I bet there is subtle stuff, like, watching it the second time, but I'd like an extended cut. I really would like an extended cut of this movie. Because it's not like a Shyamalan twist, where it's just like fucking just the dumbest shit ever that's totally illogical. It's just,
Because I know what you mean. Because like I felt when it first started happening, where it was just like, oh wait, like they knew each other. Like I thought, okay, this is kind of a little outlandish. But once it kind of turned into like a Me Too story, like it hooked me back in.
And I'm way down with that, and I like that. It just, that's the thing, is it becomes her story right at the end.
Yeah.
And so I just wish there was more build up with her.
Yeah, like we don't know like how she got her money or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
That's
just like
true,
she
yeah.
inherited it, I suppose. It's just everything we know about her character, we know about from the perspective of Ian McKellen.
Mhm.
We don't see scenes with, like, her doing things.
Yeah, enacting
or,
as like her true self. Yeah.
Or,
Which
like,
is-
we get an Ian McKellen flashback, but we don't get a flashback with her. Like, that could have been interesting if maybe they subtly showed fucking Ian McKellen's character, you know, younger. I don't know. And, you know, if you missed it, you missed it, because some people might, because, you know, they're different actors. I think that could have helped things for me. You know, I don't like to judge movies based on what they don't have, but yeah, in this case, it's like I feel like that's all it needed, was just like a little more background on Helen Mirren's character. And
I can agree with that. I'd be curious to
I'm
see
gonna like
what
this a lot more the second time I see it, though.
I'd be curious to see what the deleted scenes are, if they decided to actually pull anything out of her character's story or not. But yeah.
Person.
Well, at the same time, I think like the value of them sticking with Ian McKellen and you knowing essentially nothing about Helen Mirren is that it ratchets up the tension all that more, because you know she knows something, you know there's something on, but you don't know what. So it like makes it that much more like suspenseful. Like, what is going on? What does she know? Like,
Very,
how much of her persona is real? And because you only know what Ian McKellen knows about her, and then you get like one scene of her like taking something out of his bag, like that's the like, and like just like all the subtle acting things that Helen Mirren does, like.
Hold that thought. And we're back. Continue.
It just makes the like suspense that much more suspenseful. No. It
There you
just,
go. I mean, that Coke
it
ad.
just like deliciousness. God, yeah. It's a good thing we're not reviewing any of the ads before the movie.
Oh, we'll do one eventually. Top 10 Coke ads for Regal.
There's only one we've been seeing for the past several months.
You didn't know that?
You didn't know that? You didn't know that?
Alright, sorry.
But yeah, I think like it's like I want to know more, and I wish there was more after the reveal, that you find out more. Like, I know it's a cliche to do the rewind and, you know, this is what was really going on the whole time, but I almost kind of wanted a little bit of that, just to know a little bit more about Helen Mirren. Like, she shows like some of that, like there's a little bit of that, like this is what was really happening while you thought this was happening in her reveal. But I almost want a little bit more, just because like the mystery of her wealth and all of that, because yeah, her family's rich, but then they lost everything because of Ian McKellen's character. So how did she get that money back? And she has a huge family, and like I want to know, like,
Nazi gold.
I want to know what, like, how that came to be.
For sure, yeah.
You make a really good point about, you know, because I really want them to flesh out Betty's story, but at the same time, that's what makes the first half, which I like so much, so effective, is that you really don't get the full story. So yeah, I guess it's, you know, tough to achieve a balance. That's why we're not making the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all the way there for me, but really fucking good. I recommend it. I really enjoyed the shit out of it. And I know I'll enjoy it more the second time. And I'm excited to see it the second time so I can catch, like, I'll pay closer attention to Helen Mirren's character.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to talk about about the flashbacks specifically is the flashbacks are directly tied to our character arcs. Like we don't really like Helen Mirren's character doesn't really have an arc until her flashback happens, and then you realize, oh, this is what our character went through her entire life and how far she's come, and essentially facing her rapist and confronting him and taking physically, essentially, literally taking away his power, his money, and influence over her and like everyone in the world, because this dude's like a piece of shit. Like, Ian McKellen, I love you so much, but your character's a piece of shit.
Oh, it's what
Like,
I mean, that's the point. That's
Yeah,
what I meant.
exactly.
Like you're watching a
Like,
Martin Scorsese movie.
and so, his arc essentially is like, we view him like, while yes, he is a piece of shit, we slowly start viewing him in a greater negative light. Like, yeah, he's a con man, he robs from rich people, like whatever.
But we get an idea of his desperation.
Yeah, and then as it goes on, it's like when he has the conversation with his investor of like, do you really want to go through with this? He's like, he's physically like struggling to say like, yeah, I'm going to go through this, but then he decides to, and we get a scene where he's just like basically like just sitting in a room just fucking gross, and he's just sitting there like just like deciding, am I gonna fucking use this keypad, and he decides to do it, and it's not there. And with the flashbacks we find out that he essentially ran from his life, and right before he essentially gets the shit beaten out of him by the people that he scammed in the beginning, he said, like, when they're just, he says 9. Like, his arc is essentially a like dissolving of his facade and the essentially like accepting of the fact that he was a fucking Nazi fuck and caused like horrific, like, even if he wasn't like
he didn't like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, and he didn't fight, and even if he didn't like fight physically in the war, like he personally like raped a girl and used essentially his power as a German whatever to
we don't really know.
Yeah, exactly, to enact power, to like he ratted out the dad, like Helen Mirren's dad, and essentially caused like her entire family to be like murdered by the being in the wrong place at the right time, essentially when the bomb hit the house.
The movie does a really good job of like us like sympathizing with his naivety and his struggle to a point, not fully, and we're glad to see him fail at the end, but like we understand him, we don't really respect him, but we get it.
Yeah, it's like
like the movie does a good job of just like creating a whole character and not a wholly evil character, I suppose.
Yeah, because I think everybody can sympathize of being essentially born
Maybe that's
in the
just
wrong.
Ian McKellen.
You're born in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're put into essentially you're born in Nazi Germany, and you're put into that position. I feel like people can sympathize with wanting to get away from that and wanting to turn away from that life and essentially be good.
I think it's because we want him to change.
Yeah,
and we want him to do good.
But
and
he's
so
not. Like, even though he runs away from being a Nazi, he's still a fucking con man, piece of shit. He still fucking raped a girl.
Yeah, we can still love con men, and we didn't know that till the third act. That's what's gonna make the rewatch so interesting. Is I'm gonna like him a whole lot less the second time around.
What a piece of shit. Well, and it too establishes, like, the twist at the end also establishes the length of his con activities, and that, like, it kind of, at first you're like not totally certain if this is the first time that he's preyed upon a woman in this way, because the only other con you see before that is him with like a group of these other businessmen who are all also con men and into shady shit. However, then in the when Helen Mirren does her reveal and there's all these flashbacks and stuff, it's revealed that he has done this to many women over the years, and enough that he ended up in the papers at one point for it. Like,
The headline on that was so dumb. I can't remember what it was, but sorry, go on.
it was, yeah, like dangerous dating, or
It was like-
dating dangerously.
No, there was another one that was like, man may have stolen identity,
Oh,
and it's just a
falsified
picture
identity.
of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like, it would definitely be interesting to watch it again, and then from the moment you start watching it, knowing that Ian McKellen is not only a piece of shit, but like a truly, like, loathful piece of shit.
I mean, that's a testament to movies like this, is the second watch through. Because there's, you know, and, you know, I can honestly feel like this one was going to compare to, like, Hereditary, and, like, how much you can go back and see essentially the plot devices being built around you that you essentially didn't notice. I'm excited to see how much they actually show us of what Helen Mirren knows beforehand. Because, like, you know, now when rewatching it, the Inglourious Bastards thing is going to be heavy-handed as shit. I'm just like, I know you're a fucking Nazi. I'm fucking shoot Hitler. And yeah, like, I loved his line of just like, I'm pretty sure that Hitler didn't die in the top balcony of a French theater.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it too. It's been 10 years. We saw Inglourious Bastards this year. We went and saw a film print of it.
Dude.
And yeah, it just, that reminded me of it. It was a little celebratory, like, you know, y'all get to have 80s nostalgia all the time shoved in your movies. I want some nostalgic for when I was in high school and I saw Inglourious Bastards. I'm just kidding.
I would just like to clarify a point, because y'all keep referring to Ian McKellen as a Nazi. Technically not a Nazi, just involved with the...
I don't know.
Because
He reported somebody to the Gestapo. That's Nazi enough for me.
No, this was
Alleged.
prior to their rise to power.
You're right.
This was the former government before the Nazis took control.
We're just being
And then
loosey-goosey.
when the Nazis did take control, he was on the side of the British, which is how he was working, because he was working as a translator for the British Army. So then that's why he escaped, is because he wasn't involved with the Nazis. He was helping people catch Nazis. So there's like, and they use that, I think,
I bet
as a
he
little bit of a
sympathized with them.
redemption for him. Like, oh, see, he's not really that bad of a guy, even though he did all this shit. He still, like, helps people
at
catch.
least he's not a Nazi.
At least he's not a Nazi. You know, he was on the other side. He was helping catch Nazis. He wanted out of that life. Blah blah blah. Like, in terms of like being out of Germany and.
Yeah, no, he was a rapist
danger.
Nazi
But
fuck.
then,
For sure.
But then they revealed that, you know, also he was a rapist and he turned people over to
He's only
the
pretending
government
to be a
and like
rapist.
all of that.
I didn't actually rape the girl. Wasn't actually
anything
me
good
playing
that he
little
did.
boy.
And then he went back and, you know, started becoming a con man and screwing people out of their money. So
He was only pretending to screw people.
his little bit of redemption really doesn't mean as much once you get the whole story. And it's like, yeah, you may not have been a full-blown Nazi, but you're still
Close enough.
a German asshole.
During the movie though, like before that reveal, and you know, I think that's the second half of why the reveal bugged me, is like, it's, you know, it felt out of nowhere, and then it forced me to recontextualize everything that I thought I knew about Ian McKellen, which I even thought about in my head while I was watching it. I was like, you know, that's pretty good filmmaking if it requires me to think deep enough to have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally
and-
about to say that in comparison to Knives Out. It's like, Knives Out, when
Fuck that
Ryan
stupid
Johnson
ass
reveals
goddamn
things,
movie.
you don't have to recontextualize things. You just
It's just,
accept
I don't
that
know,
what
man.
Ryan Johnson has told you, because we're a dumb audience.
This movie deserves more. This movie is like not doing incredibly well. It's I don't know. It was made on a modest budget, but like Knives Out is getting all the attention, and this movie is way better.
Way better than Knives Out.
Honestly,
Had way more tension, way more like, I don't know. Because the mystery is like with Helen Mirren. Like, how much does she know? When's the shit
With
gonna go down?
2 fucking main characters. I guess 4 if you want to count the accountant and fucking.
No, man,
their
those
grandson.
those are support characters
It's
for
true,
sure.
but like in total, and it's more compelling. And Ryan Johnson's like, look at my fucking characters. I don't know what to do with.
Yeah, man, it is so character driven. Like literally, it's just these 2 actors spending time together for a long fucking time, and then these 2 characters just have tiny little interactions with other characters intermittently. But for the most part, it's about these 2 people interacting together, and
neither of them are interacting with each other authentically at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're both, but they're like faking it. Like they're both good liars.
They're
I
both
knew
good
she
liars.
had something up her sleeve. I mean, partially because of the trailer, but I didn't know she had that many aces up her sleeve. I didn't know she had the whole deck.
Like, yeah, she even got people who used to work for him
Yeah,
to beat the shit out of him at the end. Like, that's how fucking thorough she was. She tied up his loose ends for him. It's like, hey, McKellen, you're fucked. Everybody you screwed over that we saw you screw over earlier in the film, they're coming for you now.
Oh yeah, and he's like a hardcore like Jack Nicholson type character in like The Departed, like smashing people's hands with hammers and just
using a train to take off a guy's head.
Yeah, just like
stabbing him in the eyes.
Yeah,
like,
just
damn.
being this hardcore motherfucker.
When the one dude got his head blown off, like the body cast they had for that, the head was fucking gnarly.
That was
yeah.
That was well done.
Oof.
And one other thing that I want to mention,
is about how much Ryan Johnson.
No,
says.
no, it doesn't have to do with Ryan Johnson, but it does have to do with Elizabeth Banks. This is how you do a female like rise to power story, man. Like you don't have to have fucking girl power. You can have an old fucking lady who can't do anything, essentially be a fucking badass and fucking run the show and act a fucking entire movie like next to one of the greatest actors fucking ever,
and take him down
and
use the perception that she is a weak one. Like this uses that whole perception of women is weak and the turning of it on its head to its advantage, and it doesn't feel forced and it's not femme fatale at all. It like uses that cliche in a like new way that actually works.
I mean, I'd
works
argue
with the tension.
I'd argue that this honestly that she relies more on like elder.
It's a combination of
assumption.
both. It's a combination of both. The assumption that not only as an elderly woman specifically, because from that era, women a lot of times weren't allowed access to their finances. True. Especially, that's why elder abuse is so prominent.
I thought about that. Yeah.
Older women is because like there's for a lot of women there was a lack of like education about that, a lack of access to being able to control their own finances, to know things that they needed to know about their finances, and all the control was like handed over to the man in a marriage, and that was the expectation. And so it takes like her pretending that she knows nothing about her money and all of that, and it all was her husband, and like her like embodying the stereotype of the women that he's preyed upon before, and then boom, you find out that that's not who she is at all, that she's had to struggle her entire life and like basically
self-made boss bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Like she's self-made, independently wealthy, like, and like she knows what she's doing. She's smart as hell, like, and it doesn't feel cheap or forced. It's actually she's a fully fleshed out character.
Yes, and it just goes to show how good writing, strong acting, and fucking a smart plot can make your female character just be awesome without their sex being like, you know, I guess a part of it. You know, it's like it could have.
Well, her sex is a part of it. It's just the difference is, it's. Man,
I don't know. I guess it's not like ham fisting and rubbing it in your face. It's just like this is a story, like presenting.
She's a badass human who happens to be a woman,
exactly,
and her struggles as a woman have made her stronger in these respects, and they like respect everything that's happened to her as a result of her being a woman in the time that she was in. But they also like treat her as a whole person. It's not just you're this woman cliche.
here's an example. You know, like you just said, you just said that you know, women like struggled, you know, financially, couldn't sign for their own stuff and whatnot. You know, that is like a fact. And like the new Charlie's Angels movie, you know, spouts many just like hot takes of sexism, some of which, you know, are facts that I don't agree with, and it just uses that to prove its point. So like, what if in this movie The Good Liar, it was just like, you know, I couldn't even sign my own checks, and just like shit like that. Like that's the type of things it used to portray specifically to portray acts of feminism in film. Like if she just recanted era specific, you know, like just, I don't know, like barriers both big and small that way, you know what I mean? Like use that to drive the plot instead of use, I don't know, plot to drive the plot.
The thing is that what this film does is it shows, it doesn't tell. That was the problem that Charlie's Angels had, like one of the many problems Charlie's Angels had with all of that it was trying to get across with this. I mean, because they dealt with a lot of like specifically workplace harassment stuff, but like the even like when they were trying to show, too much of it was telling with like over the top mustache twirling like characters. Like it didn't show the like the subtle long-term everyday realities that people face, as well as like the more overt stuff without it being mustache twirling. It was like, whereas this is like, I don't know, the depictions are much more grounded and well-rounded, and there's more to it. Like there's more to her motivations than just like one thing related to her being a woman. It's all her experiences as a whole and the intersection of her identities, as opposed to, you know, girl power.
With super hot dresses. Gotta have those.
And they did have hot dresses in Charlie's Angels.
I don't know, yeah, there's a just, yeah, there's something to, I'm starting to think, like, you know, with the internet and just like the spread of just like information and like the type of conversations and movements that are happening in the real world, like I just think, you know, super rich ass filmmakers, you know, like Elizabeth Banks, or, you know, even Rian Johnson, you know, had some political stuff, or like what they tried to do in Terminator Dark Fate with the border stuff.
Yeah, border. Yeah.
I just think these rich ass motherfuckers need to stop giving us their hot takes so fucking.
A lot of them are too detached. Unless
they are. That's it. They're too detached.
It's too detached from what's actually. It's like, oh well, I saw this thing, and that seems to be something that a lot of people tweet about and care about.
People in the real world are doing the work, and the info's out there, and we know it.
Well, and even then, there are celebrities that are actually like doing something. Like Jane Fonda's still getting arrested for protesting. Like she's actually like doing things,
and
she's
like
not just
none
like,
of her movies are political ever.
The irony of that.
Like none of them. Maybe a few. But
like,
yeah,
it's just like, but a lot of people are very much insulated by.
Yeah, you don't have to force in political commentary to make the movie.
I don't
good.
want to get the wrong idea. I like political
point.
commentary a lot of times, but there's, you know, like
there's a way to do it,
yeah.
like Jordan Peele and Get Out, where it's coming from personal like he knows what he's talking about.
But there are
and
times
then
where he creates tension with the
times
camera,
when
not
it like
just like
feels
so.
like
Here's a statistic. Isn't that racist?
And it's like, I like movies that, you know, that have politics as like the center stage. Like Throwback, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I think is a perfect example of a politically driven movie that relates to today and like literally the entire fucking movie is nothing but political commentary, and it's old as fuck, and it's awesome. It's genuinely good, except for the guy who acts the main guy. But that whatever.
or allegorical, like Godzilla, where it's like it's about nuclear war and stuff, and the movie itself addresses political issues of the time and uses Godzilla as a means of this. But
it's like you don't need to take your whodunit movie and just shove a political
it's
argument.
Wrong of Trump to do that, and it's like we know. Shut the fuck up.
We are exposed to this
fucking
every
asshole.
day.
It's like yeah, we get it. Like we come to the movies to not experience Trump's tweets and fucking hear about alt-right dead deer masturbators.
Dude, I know. When I'm just hearing this shit in movies, I'm like, God damn it! Is this is in movies now? Fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's gonna, then it needs to address, like, actually have something to say. Like one that we're looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Next week is what is it? Queenie and Slim.
Yeah.
That has something to say that's grounded in like real shit that's happening
times,
now,
yeah.
but the central, like it's more complicated than that. It's not just the obvious police brutality is bad. It's like far more complicated.
So, I think we've kind of veered off of talking about The Good Place and started talking.
You just said The Good Place.
Or The Good Place, The Good Liar. Great conversation, but final thoughts on The Good Liar, person.
The Good Liar, person A.
It's worth a watch. I have a feeling because it's a smaller film, it won't be in theaters very long.
It won't. It really won't.
Unless it gets picked up come Oscar season and gets a
I hope so.
then.
This deserves a nom.
It deserves noms for sure, like acting noms.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Cinematography was probably the weakest link.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
But the acting
it was just
is so
it was
strong.
passable. It was totally just like
Sound design. I think
job,
it could do it for the soundtrack. I
It's-
think having the combination of dark and happy, I think it did incredibly well. I loved it. Yeah. General thoughts. Fuck, this movie's so good. Go see it. This is a, like, even if you don't see it in theaters, I honestly feel like this is a must own. Really, like, if you love compelling dramas, this is for you for sure. If you love Ian McKellen, strong actors leading a plot, go see it. It's great. It's really, really good. Thumbs up. All right. Trailers.
we kind of
The
gone
trailers
over
were
all
all
of them.
over the
really,
place.
really, it's person A. Do you want to talk about any of these? We've talked about
Okay,
most of them.
so Kingsman, I feel like so conflicted about because I watch it and I'm like, oh, this looks like it could be awesome, and then I'm like, it's a Kingsman movie.
Yeah, it's
I don't know how I feel.
It's like every time it starts, I'm like, ooh, what's this? And then I'm like, oh.
And then it does the pun thing with it being the King's Man, and then some of the like CGI effects don't look super great. But then like it looks like I feel like I would watch it and be entertained and then never watch it again.
I mean, that's what the first one was, man. It's like
I feel like
I wasn't a big fan.
I haven't seen any of the other ones.
I think
I
I would
like
like
Cha-
it better than
No,
I
yeah,
think I
that
would
like
it
Channing
better
Tatum
than
or something.
than
I don't
the
know.
ones that take place in this time period.
That's true.
Like I feel like the World War II set. A lot like
Sherlock
there's-
Holmes is the only type of movie like that.
There's a lot of stuff that's been coming out lately.
Yeah,
that's
and I
related to World War II and all of that, and
I like the kind of steampunk style that the first one had too, and putting it in that time frame is kind of, I guess, like the perfect era to where new advancements in technology have the greatest like surprise factor, because you don't know what technology they would have access to at that time. Where in the first one, he's got like a high-tech see-through umbrella with like a shower dial switch that can shoot different stuff and do different stuff with it. It's like, the technology is like above and beyond, where this, I feel like, could
More
be
mechanical.
it could be grounded in like technology that they had in a few years later than that, but they have it now and it's used in cool ways, like, basically James Bond. This is basically James Bond. Like, they're British, just like it's like the start of James Bond. creation of MI6.
It's Diet James Bond.
Yeah, it's like pre like
But
like
with swords.
yeah, little MI6 thing. Kingsman. There we go. We talked about it.
What,
have
what
nothing
was
to
the
say.
next one?
Okay,
The
turning of the heads. No, okay, so I forgot about this trailer the first time we talked about it. I remember it now. Okay, I'm there. I see images. Okay, it looks great. But I also laughed a lot during the trailer.
Me too.
Like, there was a couple just like, I'm your friend now. Just like, maybe. Like, I don't know. And yeah, like when he steps on the fish, he's like, why would you do that? He's like, nothing deserves to suffer. It's like, it's a little over the top, but I might be okay with that.
Yeah,
you know?
as long as the kids end up being evil, I won't mind all the supernatural shit either.
Yeah, there was a lot of supernatural shit. I don't really know what the turning is. I don't know if it's like a book or if it's based off like a movie or something, a new
Just please
IP.
make the kids evil.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I want to see Finn Wolfhard as like a murderous, like sociopathic little shit who murdered his parents.
Dude,
Please,
I
that would
just
be
realized
amazing.
the Good Liar is based on a book. I wonder
Yeah.
if the book has more fucking other stuff in it. I might read the book, honestly. This is the type of movie where the book might enrich my experience of liking the movie. Honestly.
If you've read the book, let us know
Yeah,
in the comments.
please
Let us know what you
comment.
think. Don't spoil stuff if they have extra stuff, but if they do have extra stuff, say, yeah, they got extra stuff. Like, let us know what you thought of it.
Yeah,
Extra
I'm not
onions.
gonna read the book until one of you comments.
You better fucking comment on our shit. You better comment on our shit.
Okay, what were the other ones?
But yeah,
what
I think the turning
the-
looks fun. Fucking goddamn it, what's her name? Fucking Mackenzie Davis.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's awesome. I need to see her in something good after Terminator Dark Fate. Like, she needs to be redeemed after that.
I think I actually want to get a piercing on my dick. A dick jewel, if you will. Or
What?
a Richard jewel.
Richard.
Oh.
I don't want to review this one. We're not doing it.
We're going to go see Cats, but we're not going to go see Dick Jewel.
You're goddamn right.
Goddamn right.
I don't want to see. I don't know, man.
Okay, just mercy.
Okay. Here's the thing about Richard Jewell. I'm not gonna be able.
It's 'cause it's Clint Eastwood.
I'll get kicked out of the theater, and I'll just need to watch it at home if I'm gonna watch it.
I'll get kicked out of the theater.
I will. I might. Someone will complain. Someone will be like, "That goddamn boy is not respecting the fucking bonding."
Okay,
And-
just pretend it's like it's
Oh,
you know. Remember how you got all into making a murderer? Pretend it's like that, like you're watching like a cinematic making a murderer.
No.
I tried the theater. I couldn't help but just I'm sorry. What? Whatever.
All right, just mercy. I mean, we talked about it. Looks like Oscar bait, but it might make you feel something.
I can't tell if it's gonna be.
I
good or
can't
not.
tell either, but
Yeah.
I'll see it. I'll watch it. Like, it could be the best movie ever or not.
It could be great, or it could be like feel like super paint by numbers. Like
Has
this
Jamie
is for
Foxx
the
ever done a bad
Oscars.
movie?
We want to win Oscars, or it could actually be like super
Yeah.
powerful. I guess
Yeah,
it
he
depends on
has.
how far they go with the story, how much they stick to the truth of the story. If they like fluff things up.
What is the truth of the story? I don't know. I don't know what the story is
I'm not,
actually.
Okay, correct me if I'm
There
wrong.
just is a truth.
But
and
it's-
they
it-
might
this
fuck
looks
it
like-
up.
this looks like the start of the Innocence Project, which is a group that specifically works to get people wrongfully convicted off of death row.
Good
Okay.
name.
But I don't know for sure just based on the trailer because I've never heard of this movie before now. But that's definitely the vibe that I got
For sure.
from it.
I can see that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it looks emotional, but like, it's like the first half of the trailer seems really grounded, and the second half seems kind of like euphoric, where it's kind of, the soundtrack picks up and it people stop talking, and it kind of like does these kind of like, I don't know, like glazed over, like kind of blown out, overexposed shots that are like trying to build up some sort of
It's the
like,
Oscar, like,
yeah,
the
exactly.
thing
That's
on
where it makes me feel like Oscar bait, where the first half feels like, you know, he's actually trying to do something and he is doing something, and then there's somebody like following him that doesn't like him doing that shit, and then it starts getting a little Oscar baity.
Yeah, I almost wish that this trailer would have taken the same tone as the DuPont trailer,
Yeah.
where it just focused
Dark
on like,
dark water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where it was like, just like, I don't know. I guess the point of the other part was to be uplifting and not have you feel super shitty about, I don't know, the fact that we regularly wrongfully convict people and give them the death sentence.
Maybe we should
But,
feel shitty about
maybe
that.
we should feel shitty about that.
No, and then that's the other thing when it comes to, I'm sorry to swing the conversation back to like, you know, politics and stuff, because, you know, that will have a dose of it. It's like, that's what the movie's about. That's what we paid for our ticket. And, you know, we're well fucking aware of it. And I don't know. It's just like, that's also an example
That's like the difference.
of just like wanting to see a political movie versus just like the screenwriter being like, by the way.
Also, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, I don't want to see another family like talking about Trump around a dinner table.
That's
Just
Sorry.
like your family.
You're like,
Isn't that
hey,
great?
this is about to happen to you in a couple days. Isn't it great? No.
Okay, we this is our longest review ever now. Worthy, fucking the Good Liar. Okay,
The Good Liar.
Go see it. Normally our long reviews are negative, but this one, god damn it, it's a good one. Suck it.
So good at
He's
having
only
talking about how
pretending
other
to be a
movies were
rapist.
bad.